Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on March 28th, 2025 at approximately 9 p.m. PST. Now, I bill myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the exact same tools I personally use in my day-to-day life. And the philosophies of life I talk about are the same philosophies that I use to guide virtually every decision I make. With this in mind, I know these tools will work for you because they continue to work for me and have literally worked for thousands of other people over the years with varying degrees of success depending on their own personal efforts. Now, today we are looking at the importance of family unity, part 2. Okay, but before we get into it, I do want to definitely put a hats off to Storm. He is our primary moderator. He hides in the background, doesn't hide, making certain that technology is working properly. And rest assured, as you guys who come in to buy me a coffee have seen, technology and I argue with each other. But more importantly than that, Storm is also the one that does exactly what I asked him to do. And problem children are ousted in one heck of a hurry. Even if you try and sneak in, do not ask me how to figure out how he figures out, oh, you're a problem child with a different name. I don't know. I figure the computer turns on when I hit it. That works out well. If it doesn't, I hit a little harder, and that usually doesn't help. Then we have L.A. Moon in the background. She's in the room. She is the one that helps keep the conversation going when it starts to lag. She also keeps a very close eye on what my health is doing. And thankfully, she recognizes blood sugar drops by visual faster than I do by experiencing them. Of course, I've defied every doctor available in that they can't figure my system out either. Now, with this in mind, the reality of it is that we have an interesting situation. Okay, the importance of family. Now, understand, family is not necessarily bloodline. Because as some of you have unfortunately found out, yes, blood is certainly thicker than water. If you've ever got yourself and spilled a glass of water, you can prove it. But the reality of it is, don't go doing that. Okay, if you can avoid it, just skip the whole idea. The reality is sometimes your chosen family, people you're not related to, are way more supportive. And this really, in a sense, should have been part 1 of family unity. Because before you can have family unity with the people around you, you've got to have family unity. You've got to be able to look in the mirror and go, that person has something to offer. That person's got something going on in the right direction. Now, I will tell you, for somebody that talks about keep things positive, keep the perception positive, keep your perspective positive, for somebody that does this, I'm telling you, my outlook on life has been a shambles for a long time. Seriously, if you think about it, pretty much since I was a kid. Okay, give you an idea of just how happy I was there. I tried to bail the day I was born and actually succeeded. But some genius decided with a portable electrocution pad, also known as EEG, decided to bring me back. And I'll tell you, for those of you that think that everybody that's in the medical profession knows exactly what they're doing, the massive majority of them do. Funny part about it is they usually know more than we do. My system's just screwy. Okay, but take a look in the mirror. Now, remember, I've used this term consistently. Take the 4 words. I am worth it. Get them on your fridge tonight, because that's the start of where family unity comes. You've got to start looking in the mirror. And guess you technically don't have to, your choice. But you will find it more beneficial to look in the mirror. And I think I missed this, but hi, LA. I'm glad you could join us. I know I saw you come in because I mentioned it, but I didn't actually come out and say hi. you've got to look in the mirror, okay, and really get to understand what you offer, what you bring to the table. Now, Storm has brought all of the PDF versions of every book I've got on we'll try English, up on the Buy Me a Coffee link. Okay. I also have, and let me just double count this. Whoops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 29 books on my desktop that I am currently working on. This is not counting the 8 that are already in print. Sorry, my apologies, that would be 27. Okay, not counting the ones already in print. So, take a look in the mirror first and foremost, and really start looking at the person you see. That is the one that is going to have to, that's really going to have to stand up and say, hey, you know what? I'm really not going anywhere. Now, understand, people, even with a broken family, okay, when trust is gone, and this is where I vary from every one of you, and more to the point, this is where I will stand there and tell you wholeheartedly that a broken marriage, a broken relationship, whether the trust is shattered or fidelity suffers or there's theft, doesn't matter. I will tell you, and I've helped people do this, okay, all breaks can be repaired. Well, aside from death. That one you're pretty much hooped. If somebody drops dead, you're pretty much done. Okay, but the thing you got to remember is, as Carrie Underwood put it, yes, you may break the mirror. You can put it back together. There will always be cracks there. But you can still look in a mirror that's got cracks. You can still drive a car that has dents in it. But here's where I differ from most. And I cannot speak for you guys. I've already warned my fiance. Okay, lying to me is going to cause a problem and probably will kill the relationship. But that'll probably take a little while. I'll make an effort to try and put it behind me. I don't know how that would work. Infidelity, it's simple. For me, you cross that border, there is no going back. Now, with family unity, I have helped people put relationships back together, and this is where that consulting tag in Buy Me a Coffee comes from. I have literally helped people put marriages back together after fidelity, after personal embezzlement, after all kinds of things. Okay, there is one, and I'm certainly not going to utter it here, that it's more a case of helping the individual cope than it is putting the relationship back together. And based on some of the stipulations I've heard put in place here, I'm not about to utter what that is. Okay, but I will tell you, if you figure it out and, heaven forbid you go through it, rest assured, I can also help you deal with that one. But the neat part with the family side is you've got to have your own outlook on life stable. Like, you've got to have a solid idea of what you're aiming for. How you doing, Philip? You are in with the gold. Glad you could join us. The reality is you've got to be able to take a look in the mirror, and this can take time. But as I've told people, sometimes you have to borrow the faith of another before you can develop faith in yourself. And this is where I mentioned to you guys that your support of what I've been doing my best to do has been invaluable. Okay. So there are new features coming up on the Buy Me a Coffee link. Storm is seeing to that. Now, they'll probably be a few days. And I'm not putting a time limit on it. I've made that mistake way, way, way too often. But things are coming along. And as you can tell by the office behind me, it's falling into place. A lot of work, and for family unity to happen, this is why I say absolutely imperative. Find a time to sit down. Now, with your family. Now, I will tell you, I recommend the dining room table. This is not always feasible. Now, I got 2 boys living in my house with me. Okay. We don't actually sit down for meals very often together. In all fairness, I think Christmas was the last time we did. Well, so the nice part there, Philip goes, I feel like the AIs have more faith in me than I have faith in me. That wouldn't be surprising because it's a computer. Okay. And you got to remember with an AI, it is programmed not to think, not to feel. It just calculates. Now, that being said, if you've got a goal in mind, I will tell you right now, number 1, do not give it and give into it. Okay? Like, do not give into the idea you cannot pull it off. Family unity boils down to supporting the people you're around in what they're doing, if what they're doing is still following karmic law. Okay? And certainly, this falls under that category, but to be a little more specific, if what they're doing is not deliberately trying to hurt somebody else, or, for that matter, accidentally hurting them, including themselves. Oh, there we go. LA goes, as you see, my family is always on the go. Family meals happen on holidays. Yeah, absolutely. And that's pretty much what ours do. Or we'll make a day of it and go, here, on this particular day, whether it's a holiday or a celebration of sorts. Now I read that almost really wrong there, Philip. Now I believe you say, well, and I'm going to have to ask for clarity, or I'm going to have to go look it up. But what, pray tell, is an animist? If that means that you like animals more than you like people, I'm right there with you. But family unity literally means take a look at the people, know what's going on with them. Okay. And understand they're not going to be identical to you. Some of you may not get along. Now, the letter I've just written to my brothers because of conflict, I'm literally part of the letter I've written to them. As a matter of fact, it's the last part, because something you got to remember. People remember the first thing they read and the last thing they read. This is just a statistical fact. Thank you very much, LA. Apparently, an animist is somebody that believes in spirit in all things, which I absolutely agree with. I absolutely agree with that. Now, of course, in my case, it comes from firsthand knowledge as well. But at the end of the letter I've written them, I've explained where I'm standing, and I literally turned around. I started off by telling them, I know you've been trying to help. Then I went into a whole pile of other stuff, and at the end of it, I said, thank you for almost forcing me to have to address my financial stupidity moves. Okay, because honestly, what I went through cleared that up, which is why I now have a couple of topics coming up in the extremely near future here. I'm going to lose my phone. Just trying to avoid my phone dying on me. Okay, now. There we are. So we are looking at tomorrow, like today we're looking at family unity. Now, here's the 2 major causes of the breakup in a relationship or the breakup in a family. Number 1, is literally infidelity. Number two, and I mean physical infidelity. Number two is finances. And number three is deception. Okay. Like, let's say nobody's cheated on anybody, but you're not being exactly, shall we say, honest or forthcoming. Okay. These deceptions, these omissions can cause staggering amounts of problems. Okay. One of the biggest of which is if you don't tell your family what you're up to. I will tell you this. If they know something's off kilter, their mind will fill in the blank, as will yours. And therein lies where the problem with my own family came in. But you've got to figure out a way to put that behind you. Your family and your friends, some friendships, the reality is friends you can walk away from. You can let them go. Bloodline family or family you're raised with isn't going to just go away. This is one of these things that we've got to realize. And it took a lot of my looking in the mirror, to really see how to pull that together. Now, in your guys' case, I can't tell you specifics. That's where the consulting tag is for. Because I cannot, there's no way, even if you talk to me in private, okay, I'm not about to give you names of people that may or may not have done something. I will help you cope with what you're going through. Okay, where it comes to family, if we take a look at the world at large, and each family starts taking care of itself and starts communicating, the side effect is phenomenal. Okay, that side effect is you'll have these little pockets of energy building up, and they will slowly merge with each other. Okay, net result is you get an entire civilization that is looking at the positive side of what's going on, looking at communication lines, if you keep isolating yourself from each other. And yes, children can be a royal pain in the neck. By the way, I will warn you, a lot of the kids I've dealt with over the years have said the same thing about parents. Nathan, how you doing? Glad you could join us. The way you work lately, Nathan, it wouldn't surprise me to find you late for your own funeral. I know in my case, I'm planning on a wake about a week before I die. I figure the cost of a funeral comes out of your estate. Why not have the party in, or the cost of the estate of the party comes out of your estate? So why shouldn't you be there? Of course, I will warn you, riding into the funeral in the coffin is a great way to cause a few other heart attacks. Not necessarily a good idea. But family unity boils down to reach out. If you're at odds with your family, and bear in mind, no matter how much effort you put in, it is only 50% of the required effort. Okay, so if you're going to choose to reach forward, to reach out to them and go, this is what I'm up to, or this is how I'm standing. If you're going to reach out, understand they may not desire to reach back. Okay, but that's okay, because you've done what you could. This is where I've been cautioned not to send the letters, and I'm about to throw caution to the wind. Okay, because the reality is this: the letters to my brothers aren't for me, and I encourage you guys, all of you, if you're at odds with a family member, be it a sibling, a parent, a grandparent, doesn't even matter if it's a cousin, or for that matter, friends, reach out to them. See if you can put the communication lines back together. You cannot undo what's been done. Okay, but something you do have to remember. Okay, if they have stolen from you before, it is just plain dense to leave your money out where they can steal from it again, steal from you again. Okay, and by the way, let's take a look at that other little thing. A leopard never changes their spots. For the most part, pretty true. There are exceptions, but what does happen with people do grow up sometimes. They do have the potentiality of changing their behavior. Sadly, more people have problems accepting the possibility that that change is real than they do in believing, oh, they're always going to be that way. Now, I know for a certainty of a number of people that I look at them going, whatever they're up to, I know they're playing the games. Okay. And sad to say, I trust instinct. I'm really not that sad. I trust instinct way better than I trust logic. The important factor with family is this. No matter who they are, no matter where they go, you are going to be said they are going to remain blood related. Okay. And for those of you that a marriage has fallen apart, that's come apart at the seams, drop the idea, do your best to drop the idea of, throwing stones at them or barbs or talking bad about them, because the fact you got involved with them in the first place says there was something there. And let's jump to that other group of people. No, I didn't realize he was a con man, etc. Guess what? Let's say he was a con man. Let's say that family member was a thief. Or for that matter is. Okay. In everybody, and in all fairness, I can say this literally with everybody I've ever known, everybody I've ever read about or heard about. There is something good in everybody. But what as a society we've been taught is if somebody does something wrong, take a look at that crack in their armor. Take a look at that little break, or it might be a crater of a break, and see what you can do about adding salt to the wound. Don't worry about repairing it. Just take a look at that weakness and wipe them out. This is what society tells us. Honestly, this is the same thing that's been taught through the spiritual teachings around the world, and for that matter, throughout the world, okay, for centuries. The unfortunate part is that we're told right from the get-go, if somebody wrongs you, you've got to make certain they won't wrong you again. There is an old axiom that goes, keep your friends close, but keep your enemies closer. Okay, I will tell you, I cannot get any closer to my own worst enemy. And you guessed it, neither can you. Your own worst enemy, the biggest enemy in any marriage, any relationship, any family, is self-reprisal that nobody talks about. Poetically, how you doing? Where we go? Poetically goes, my problem was I did reach out, and the relative I saw that could help and reestablish communication was intentionally kept from me. And when that person died, so did my desire to reconnect. And this is where you look in the mirror poetically, and I kid you not, literally, thank the lady in the mirror. As I mentioned before, you walk over to any reflective surface, whether it's a mirror or not, is up to you. Up on the shelf here above my drawers, okay, I've got a Bowie knife. It's got a reflective screen. That's what I usually use. Well, I used to use until I put it out of reach. But you look in the eyes of the lady looking back at you. You literally tell her, I forgive you for everything you think you've done and everything you feel you have done to hinder my personal growth and happiness. Now, the reality is, you reached out. You did what you could. Okay? That is the biggest issue. Poetically, that's okay. I don't for me, I look at it this way. I'm very much of the opinion of, I take a look at it and go, okay, if you're male, this works out well. If you're female and not a lady, as I say, my dad used to say, you never hit a lady. Okay, but if she swings first, she's not a lady. Now let's understand, my father was old school. You know, the reality of it is, whether you're male, female, hirsute, or bald, doesn't make any difference. All entities that I've ever come across literally fall under the same category. But, like I've told people about my reference to God, I use the term God because I'm lazy. It's one syllable, it's, one word, and it refers to all of them. So when we're taking a look at the reality of it, you do what you can. Reach out. If they turn around and stab you again, eventually you'll learn getting within arm's reach isn't a good idea. Now, I've had people around me like that. Okay. Sadly, most of what you guys go through, and this is going to sound absolutely twisted, almost everything that people have gone through, especially when you take into consideration my past lives, virtually everything you've gone through, I can probably personally relate to and give you examples of how I can relate to it. But the issue here is this. You've got a family. Now, I will tell you, some of your family members are not going to be, you've got family, not every family member is going to have the same focus on, if you will, household cleanliness. Okay. But as I've done with many families over the years, okay, it just was funny. It sounded like I was siding with the wife, and she was the problem, right? And I finally looked at the kid, and I looked at the munchkin, because the munchkin was always having trouble with the state of the house. And I looked at the group of them, and I said, look, you got to remember, you can eat off anybody's floor. Just some people have a better selection. For some reason, I don't know why, but the wife did not take that very well. Ken, on the other hand, thought it was hilarious. Yeah. Now, here's the thing. Here's a couple of names, because Poetically is going, Source is a nice alternative to God, and to God I like. Well, here's the thing. I've heard of God, Buddha, Allah, Source, Universe, Gaia, Isa, and then, of course, we go with the prime originator. Okay. But they all mean the same thing, essentially. Okay. The one term that I came across, that a lot of people seem to use is Elohim. Now, of course, here's the problem. My understanding when I was looking into it is that Elohim means God's, as in plural. And yes, even the gods have family. Okay, and the same rule applies for them. And of course, the reality of it is, like I told my kids as they were growing up, the issue of a family, family members come over. I always told my kids, so many say, oh, come and give grandma a hug, or come and give grandpa a hug, or whatever. I'd look at them in front of grandma and grandpa and go, look, I don't care if you give them a hug. And, they like it, absolutely. But if you don't feel like you can hug, don't. But you will come out and say hi when they arrive, and you will come back out and say farewell when they go. Okay, I will tell you, family unity, one of the biggest things that you can do I appreciate that there, Philip. And speaking of the Force, as far as I understand it, and somebody can correct me if I'm mistaken here. Okay. As far as I understand it, in Australia, they do have the Church of the Jedi down there now. That came out a number of years ago from what I gather. The short end is Steve Franchise. How you doing? Glad you could join us. Now, I should double check something here. Because we had, who came in first? Philip came in with the gold. I missed this part. That's terrible. Philip came in with the gold. Now, scrolling down. And Poetically came in with silver. Then we scroll a little further. Philip came in with the bronze. And Steve, that means you came in with the honorable mention. Now, the answer to your question, yes. Okay, gods do have mothers-in-law. Okay, or mother-in-laws. I'm not quite certain how that fits. Okay, they do. When you're dealing with a group, and I'll use the term loosely, because the reality is, everybody, when you're dealing with a binary organism. Okay, when you're dealing with a binary organism, every single child has a mother and a father. And if they've got a mother and a father, when two children unite, thankfully, usually at an appropriate age, which society dictates, by the way, when the two kids unite, their parents become the in-laws, because every binary organization has a father and a mother. Now understand, any male can be a father. Any female can be a mother. Doesn't matter how good. But it takes a very special type of person, very special type of father to be a dad, and a very special type of mother to be a mom. Okay, now, there are a number of things we got to look at with family. Go back and, this is an odd way of looking at it, perhaps. Okay. Your parents, the parents of the family took care of the family when the little ones were incapable of taking care of themselves. As they get older, you may find you have to take care of your family, of your parents. Okay, you got a choice, clearly. You can take your parents, put them into an old age home, and sometimes that's necessary. Okay, but most of the parents will actually do far better staying at home with somebody helping them. Yes, it's a pain in the neck. Okay, and it can be, especially as you get older. The parents may really have a problem with their own kids cleaning up after them. Okay, because nobody likes getting old. Okay, not that I know of. God knows I certainly didn't enjoy the journey. But I don't look at it going, oh, I'm old, I'm not capable of anything. I've always looked at myself going, I've got limited issue there. But here's the kicker. I am now 61 years old, and now I finally figured out the importance of family and the importance of money. Okay, finally figured out where it fit. And when we look at the money, do understand something. Money has to be a side effect. Family unity comes as a side effect of simply treating each other as you desire to be treated. If you desire the people around you to be honest, okay, you've got to be honest with them. Nikki, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Hopefully things are going reasonably well for you. Actually, hopefully things are going really well. The fact of the matter is that it can be challenging trying to live with anybody. But if you're honest, okay, you will find the world is a lot better place Now, we've got a choice as individuals, as family. Now, understand, you got your family you grew up with, you've got your bloodline family, you've got your chosen family, and those people you work with are another type of family. Okay, you desire the world to be better, bring the families together. This is something I'm doing my level best to put. I'm doing my level best to put my tensions behind me. Not exactly successful all the time. Nikki, you really shouldn't be walking on the dog. That's just not healthy. Unless, well, guess if it's a big enough dog, walking on it isn't a bad thing. But when you are down and out, okay, many times bloodline family are the only ones that'll reach out. And like I said, whether it's bloodline or your chosen family, okay, I know my best friend, his parents, well, I refer to them now as mom and dad. Bear in mind, both of my birth parents are deceased. Okay, but having that kind of support of somebody that is willing to listen to what you are going through, willing to hear you out, and without judgment, and that ultimately is the case where you're looking at family. When I say no judgment, I do not mean accept everything they do and don't question it. If they are doing something stupid, if you know a family member of yours is getting involved in a bad environment, have the courage, okay, to open your mouth and say, this is what's going wrong. This is the problem I can see. Now, the sad reality of it is, with my senses, and with some of you, your senses are running so much higher than the average person, they won't relate to it. And my dad told me, keep all of what I do a secret. Okay. And in all fairness, like, people have looked at my book, at the book I wrote, Races of the World. Okay. It is literally that book, or more to the point, the information contained within it, that has caused me the loss of a number of friendships. Okay. Because of the fact that information, much as it's been, a lot of it has been corroborated, same as with what I'm talking about with family. Something we got to realize. Blue, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Something you got to realize. I talk about the database I've got, the number of people I've talked to. When I talk about statistics, I'm referring to literally, I have had well over 100,000 clients in my life. And I mean clients that were actually coming to me. Okay. I'm not talking about just people I talk to. Everybody talks to literally, I would lay odds over the course of their life. I suspect people talk to probably 1 million people or so, maybe more. And if you happen to be like I am, and I'm on YouTube, there is no telling how many people out there are listening. Okay. But if you desire the world to be a more honest place, make the world your family. Okay. Now, there's an old song, I'd like to teach the world to sing. I will tell you this, I'm not about to. Because there are some artists out there that go, oh, I'm a really good singer. And I'm like, please, how about if you don't sing anymore? The reality is, I'm not good where it comes to singing, in my opinion. Now, the biggest thing that we have to look at here is if you can reach out to the people in your own home, start, look in the mirror, figure out what your real strength is. What are you capable of doing? What are you willing to do? And that, more often than not, is the bigger question. I tell you, the last 2 years, two and a half years that I've been on here, Okay, and managed to get connected with my fiance. I have learned so much about me. It is absolutely insane. Okay, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to use that term, but this is the problem with social media censorship. Do not get me wrong. Okay, I take a look at it when somebody tells me, "Oh, you're insane." I'm like, "Great." So I'm in the state of sanity, so I'm sane. I can work with it. Okay, but the thing we have to really take a look at is we start treating each other in the way we desire to be treated. You'll draw the family unit closer. And the more picture, if you will, we're taught to be really basically armored individuals, keep everybody away from us. Now, picture yourself as a snowflake. Okay. Picture yourself as a snowflake or as an ice cube. Really armored, really solid. You can all clump together, nothing happens. But as the family connection grows, the ice melts. Now, take 2 ice cubes, put them into a pan, okay, and leave them sit there. You can easily tell them apart. Leave them for a few hours. They will melt. Now, figure out which water molecule goes to which other molecule. Most of them. Now, go back to this part here. Nikki, when are we getting married? That depends on when we get a few things sorted out. Okay, but I am happy to say that she's starting to move some of her stuff up here. Okay, some of it so that she won't have to pay shipping. So this works out well. Some of it's already arrived. The reality of family is this. We've got a choice. Now, you may have a beautiful family like the Cleavers, or maybe like the Cunninghams. Yes, these come from way back. Okay, some of you will have a family like today's Family Guy or American Dad. And some of you, I know some my age would remember this family. Maybe you've got a family like the Addams family. But families still, on the whole, will pull together. Okay, I know that's hard to believe, especially when you're at diametrically opposed odds of a situation. But there is always, almost always, a common ground that can be reached. Okay, I will warn you, if your experience with somebody is that every time they open their mouth, they're going to lie, the odds are you're not going to trust what they say. Not surprising. But do your best to keep an open mind, because at some point, they may just say something and surprise the daylights out of you. Okay. There are so many different styles of family. There's no way somebody can sit here and tell you, here's a family. One man, one woman, and 2.5 kids. Unless you belong to some of those really twisted families, but I'll let your imagination deal with that. Okay, that is not the way family works. Okay, family can be in any number of forms. Maybe it's a social bond, like a social club. Okay, and for those of you that get this brilliant idea that I want to go into that club, so I should be allowed. That ain't the way clubs work. You can't just say, I'm going to become a member of that family. Okay, all families have their own internal laws, their own internal rules, and you've got to honor that. But what you can do is treat everyone you meet with the respect you desire to be treated with. Okay, that is the biggest thing we have to look at. And it's so difficult for most people to really wrap their brain around that. Or at least that's what it seems. One of the biggest challenges that we deal with in this world is something goes wrong, we are told to capitalize on it. Yeah, LA goes 2.5 kids and maybe 2.5 dogs. Two Dobermans and a Chihuahua. One of the most courageous dogs I ever ran into was a teacup poodle. Okay, not the brightest dog I ever ran into, but definitely courageous. But family is something that we can build on. And thank you very much, LA. The fact of the matter is that for a family to hold together, you've got to be accepting of each other's boundaries. Okay. Now, some boundaries may seem a little extreme. Okay. When I was growing up, my parents really pushed the idea of trust. And here's one of the things they did. If somebody left money on the counter, we were taught, and even mom and dad followed the same law. Okay, you see money on the counter. If you didn't put it there, you don't touch it. Period. That was the end of the discussion. Okay, and to this day, I don't worry about it. Okay, my boys are taught the same way. Okay, you just don't take it. This does not mean it's been absolutely done without hiccups. But what we are now looking at is a world that so many people are pushing for. What makes us different? Okay. Here's an idea. How about being different? Take a look at all the people out there that are pushing for this idea of, I want to be unique. I want to stand out. Okay. How about if we take that and you be the unique one? Okay. You be the rarity. And reach out and go, great, you're different. Come on over, sit down and have a coffee. Okay. Start being the different one that doesn't push people away. Now, I don't technically push people away. I don't leave my house, therefore I don't have to push people away. Okay. And the way I finally figured out how to do it, I'm going to actually land on my feet a lot quicker than I was expecting. LA goes, my Chihuahua is the only one of the dogs that will bark at the door opening. I'm totally cool with the Dobernator, aka his tiny little Chihuahua. Yappy is all get out, but as long as you treat him decently, he'll settle down. Okay, a friend of mine has a Great Pyrenees that, I kid you not, thinks it's a lapdog. Okay, now if you don't know what a Great Pyrenees is, well, just about the same size as a Shetland pony. Okay, aka big enough to ride, strong enough to ride, but still a dog. And by the way, yes, pets are family members. More often than not, especially if you're a pet lover, they are a furry, scaled, feathered, family member with 4 legs. They're just a kid. Okay, and many animal lovers treat them that way. But I gotta remind you, some of the animals out there that are in the wild, you can like them all you'd like. Just remember they happen to be wild. Okay. One of the biggest things we got to look at where it comes to family is, yes, parents they've taken on a responsibility to point out the flaws. As I told my kids, I don't desire to control you. I'm just trying to help you avoid making the same stupid mistakes I did. I encourage you to go out and make your own stupid mistakes. Poetically, what do you mean cats think they're boss? Didn't you get the memo? Cats are not domesticated. Cats are the boss. Just ask them. So what we're looking at is a family that you've got to build strength in people. In other words, you will get far further in life if you encourage the people in your family to be themselves without breaking karmic law. Okay? In other words, absolutely, you desire to do something, as long as you're not breaking karmic law and you're not a danger to you or others, absolutely go out and give it a shot. Okay, I will tell you, one of the big things that parents teach kids, if you see a red burner on the stove, don't put your freaking hand on it. Okay, I don't know about you, but I much prefer when people point out what I'm doing that's going to hurt before I get hurt. Now the thing we've got to remember is, number one, no two people are alike at all. Even if you're looking at people that have an exact match on their birthday. We swap gears half a second to astrology. Even if they are born exactly at the same time, in the same place, they are not identical. Because all of that changes the moment they interact with anything outside their immediate vicinity. Okay, well, family does the same thing. Sometimes family members are going to create a complication. They're going to do something absolutely dense. You don't have to always agree with family. Okay, but one thing I will point out, there is no way in existence that anybody's opinion can be wrong. Phil goes, but ask before you start getting a family member, patting a family member on the head. They might get upset with them for messing up the hair. I've seen a lot of kids that go through that. Okay. There's a lot of other a lot of other variables that could come into play. What we have to remember is open the communication lines so people know where the boundaries are. And this doesn't mean, you're a person that, you're a person that likes patting your kid on the head. It doesn't mean don't do that. Some people I've heard literally go, you can't touch a kid like that because they may not like it. We got to look at the other side. Maybe they're going to like the fact that you tap them on the head. I have talked to enough people over the years to know this. A parent that puts boundaries in place, is liked way more than a parent that has no boundaries. That's the reality of it. That's the reality of it. Kids like rules. Adults like rules. The only thing with adults, and kids are the same way, by the way, the rules have to apply equally to everybody. This is why when I talk about the different tools I use, these are the ones I'm personally using. Okay, yes, I did say it's best to have a meal around the dinner table. Absolutely it is. But it's not the only way. In my own home, we have the dinner around the dinner table. I mean, our apartment is only 1,000 square feet, so our table's around here somewhere. Well, would you look at that? Tell you that hour went by really rather quickly. Now, with that in mind, okay, let me just pull that back up again because I've got the memory of a sieve here. Actually, in all fairness, sieves don't have a memory. So, tomorrow is Saturday. Tomorrow we are going to be looking at the importance of money. Okay, I'm going to reveal to you some of the things I've found out. Understand, of that over 100,000 people, about 35,000 were business. Okay, about 30,000 were business. But understanding a family unit is a business. This means we have just jumped to 90% of the people have money issues. Most of it's because you don't know what to do with it. Okay, and that's what we're going to open the door for. Before you jump on that, no, I am not a millionaire yet. Okay, but I have shown millionaires how to make money work. With that in mind, we will be back again tomorrow. But I do want to say thank you so very much for sharing your time with us this evening. I do look forward to talking to you again. Absolutely check out the link, the Buy Me a Coffee link at the top of the stream. Okay, and I will be back tomorrow. Until then, do take care of yourselves and each other. And for pity's sake,